"Hey, stop. Don't move." The voice doesn't come from the street, it comes from inside your property. You turn and for a second nothing makes sense. Two officers are already past your gate, not knocking, not waiting. Inside. You didn't open anything. You didn't invite anyone in. And now they're standing there like they never needed to. "What's going on?" you ask. But even as you say it, something feels off. Because this isn't a normal conversation starting. This is a situation that already started without you. "We just need to talk," one of them says, stepping slightly closer, calm voice, relaxed tone, like nothing's wrong. But that's the problem, nothing has been explained, and yet everything feels like it's already decided. "Can you come over here for a second?" the other officer adds. And right there, that's the moment most people lose control. Because it sounds simple, it feels harmless. But one step forward, and the situation is no longer yours. So instead of moving, instead of answering, instead of playing along, you stop, look at them, and say one line. "Do you have a warrant?" And just like that, everything changes. The question hangs in the air longer than it should. "Do you have a warrant?" For a brief moment, neither officer answers. Not because they didn't hear you, but because the situation just changed. A second ago, they were guiding everything. Now they're being asked to define it. "We're just trying to talk," the first officer says, keeping his tone steady. It sounds reasonable. It sounds harmless, but it still doesn't answer the question. You don't move. You don't step forward. You don't explain anything. "Do you have a warrant?" you repeat. This time, slower, clearer. The second officer shifts his weight slightly, glancing toward his partner. It's subtle, but it's enough to tell you something is happening beneath the surface. "No," he finally says. "We don't." That single word changes everything, because now the situation is no longer unclear. It's defined. They're on your property without a warrant, and now both sides know it. The first officer exhales quietly, his posture loosening just enough to notice. "We got a call," he says. "Someone reported suspicious activity." You nod once. "I understand that," you reply. "But I'm not doing anything wrong." The tone has shifted, not dramatically, but enough. Because now this isn't an interaction being controlled from one side. It's a conversation with boundaries. The second officer looks around briefly, scanning the yard, the house, the street beyond the gate. There's nothing out of place, nothing urgent, nothing that justifies being where they are. "We just wanted to make sure everything's all right," he adds. And that's when you notice something important. They're explaining now. A few seconds ago, they were directing. Now they're justifying. That's the reversal. You stay where you are, not backing up, not stepping forward, because movement right now would change the balance again. "I'm fine," you say, "and I'd prefer you stay outside the property." There's another pause. This one feels heavier, because now you've said something most people don't. Not aggressively, not emotionally, but clearly enough that it can't be ignored. The first officer looks at you again, this time more carefully, not assessing, recessing. "All right," he says after a moment. "We're not here to cause any problems." And that sentence tells you everything, because people who have authority don't need to say that. People who aren't sure do. The second officer takes a small step back, then another, retreating, just adjusting. The space begins to open again. And just like that, the pressure starts to fade. But something still feels unfinished, because now that the situation has slowed down, you're starting to see it clearly. They didn't force anything. They didn't raise their voices. They didn't act aggressively. And yet, they were still inside your property. That's the part that lingers, because it didn't happen dramatically. It happened quietly. And that's what makes it dangerous. The first officer gestures lightly toward the gate. "We'll step out," he says. You nod once, not as permission, just acknowledgement. They walk back slowly, passing through the same space they entered without explanation. And for a moment, you just watch, because now you're replaying it. Not what they said, but how it happened, how quickly it shifted, how easily it could have gone further, and how one question stopped it. Because if you hadn't asked, it wouldn't have paused. It would have continued. And that's when it hits you. The situation didn't end because it wasn't serious. It ended because you made it clear. And that's the difference most people never see. Because what almost happened here wasn't obvious. It was subtle. And subtle is what makes it real. The gate closes behind them with a soft click, not loud, not dramatic, but final enough to make the moment feel real. You stand there for a second longer than necessary, not because anything is happening, but because something almost did. The street is quiet again. No flashing lights, no raised voices, no urgency. If someone walked by now, they wouldn't even know anything happened. And that's the part that stays with you, because nothing about it looked serious. And yet, it could have been. You replay it in your head, the voice, the movement, the way they were already inside before you even understood what was going on. It didn't feel like a situation at first. It felt like a conversation. And that's exactly why it was dangerous, because conversations don't trigger caution. They don't make you pause. They don't make you think about boundaries. They make you respond automatically. And that's how it almost shifted. One step forward, one answer, one moment of going along with it. And suddenly, you're no longer controlling what happens next. You think about how easy it would have been to just walk closer, to just answer their questions, to just assume everything was fine. Most people would have, not because they don't know better, but because nothing about the situation felt urgent enough to question. That's what makes moments like this different. They don't start with pressure, they start with normal. And normal lowers your guard faster than anything else. You look at the gate again, closed, exactly where it should have been. And now it feels obvious. That line wasn't just a question, it was a boundary. And without it, there wouldn't have been one, because they didn't stop themselves. They stopped when you made them. Not with force, not with argument, with clarity. That's what changed everything. You didn't raise your voice. You didn't escalate. You didn't turn it into something bigger. You just didn't let it stay unclear. And that's the part most people miss. They think control comes from pushing back, from arguing, from resisting. But real control starts with understanding what's actually happening and defining it. Because once something is defined, it can't move the same way. It slows down, it adjusts, it changes direction. That's what happened here. Not because the situation wasn't serious, but because it never got the chance to become something more. You didn't stop it at the end. You stopped it at the beginning. And that's the only place it really can be stopped. Because once it moves forward, it's harder to bring it back. Once assumptions take over, clarity becomes harder to restore. And once you lose that moment, you don't get it again. That's why it stays with you. Not because of what happened, but because of what didn't. Because now you see it clearly. How small that moment was, how easy it would have been to miss, and how much it actually mattered. All of it, changed by one line. Not loud, not complicated, not aggressive. Just clear enough to stop everything. Because sometimes, the difference between a situation continuing and a situation ending isn't force. It's one question. Do you have a warrant?